Hi, welcome. Last session of the day, last session of the conference, last day of the week. I'm between you and the weekend. And if I do my job right, a weekend of Blazor development. Thank you so much for joining this session. I know there's a lot of awesome sessions going on at the same time. I'm really happy that you chose mine. As developers, we have many different platforms to work with. We have desktop, we have mobile, we have games, we can work with cloud or server-based software, and we got IoT. All of these platforms has one thing in common, and that's you can choose whatever language you like. But we got one more, the browser. We basically only have JavaScript. Sure, we have TypeScript and stuff like that transpiles to JavaScript, but still, it's JavaScript in the end. Now, I get a very warm and fuzzy feeling when I work with JavaScript. Kind of like this one. I hate you. And I see some of you feel me. Today I want to show you something different. Developing for all these platforms with a language of your choice. We're going to talk about WebAssembly. We're going to talk about client-side Blazor. And then we're going to talk about server-side Blazor and what's up with that. My name is Jim Engström, and I am a developer. I work at Erik Penser Bank here in Stockholm. I run a company together with my wife, which is called Awesome Dev, not my wife, but the company. And we're focusing on future technologies that is not mainstream right now. So HoloLens, AI is becoming mainstream, but we focus on AI, Blazor, and Jessica is focusing a lot of UX, because all these new platforms gives us the opportunities for new UXs. It's a really important part. We run a podcast called Coding After Work, so please check that out. But enough about me. Let's talk about WebAssembly. Now, WebAssembly gave us the ability to write code for the browser in any language. This is a W3C standard. This is supported by all major browsers out of the box. What is happening for a normal web page? So you have the JavaScript. It's going to get downloaded to the browser. It's going to get parsed. It's going to get compiled, and then it's going to run. I'm a little bit earlier. And then it's going to run. Now, WebAssembly bypasses all of this and goes straight into the JIT interpreter. We can skip all of these steps. This wasmlangs, bit.ly.wasmlangs, is a page where you have all the languages, or some of the languages, I guess. 38, last I counted, not counting the ones that is not actively developed. This includes Go, Haskell, Java, Ruby, Python, Kotlin, and of course, C#. WebAssembly is also called WASM. And for now, from this moment forward, every time you hear WASM, you're going to see this, right? So let's take a look at C to WebAssembly. Now, I'm not a C developer. Can you see this in the back? See this in the back? That was not intended. So I'm not a C developer. This is how far I'm willing to go. This is copy and paste. So what we're going to do is we're going to use an application called EMCC. You can download that. And we're going to run this command. So we're going to tell it that the hello.c, we want to compile that. We want it to output WASM. and the HTML as HTML. So let's run this. Gonna take a couple of seconds. And it outputs a HTML file, a JavaScript file, and a WASM file. You hear me saying it like the video, right? Yeah. And this is the page. So if I reload this, hello, sweetheart. And if we go to developer settings, developer console, you will see hello, sweetheart here as well. This is C compiled as WebAssembly running in our browser. Isn't this amazing? I think this is so cool. Can you see that I'm excited about this? Now, Clientside Blazor. I was invited to a company. This was a month ago, maybe. And they wanted to know, what about .NET Core? Should we care about .NET Core? What are the advantages of .NET Core? So I came to them, I talked for like an hour, and then I said, do we have any questions? And there was one guy raising his hand. I have a question. All right. It didn't sound like Hartman, but that's the only voice I can do. So, I have a question. What about Angular? And I thought, Angular. And I realized that all of the goodness in .NET Core, the tag helpers, the awesome things that you can do with HTML and Razor pages, all of these things, they won't use that. They're going to use Web API, and that the rest of the time is going to be spent in JavaScript or TypeScript. So I showed them Blazor, and it blew their minds. Now, Blazor is not production ready. It's a preview, it's experimental. If you go into blazor.net, it's going to say in big, large fonts, do not use this in production. But we can use it for everything else. So Blazor is a combination of browser and Razor. And Razor is Microsoft's way to combining script or code, I should say, with markup. So they combined these two, and then they said, something was missing. Let's add an L. And if you ask the .NET team, why did you do that? We just like the sound of it. So with C, we had our C code. We used EMCC to compile it to WebAssembly. But Blazor works a little bit differently. And I'm a little bit curious. We're going to have a little poll after this. So what they have done is that they have taken Mono, compiled that to WebAssembly, running in our browser, downloading our .NET standard DLLs, nothing different with these DLLs, and whatever dependencies it might have. So this is basically .NET framework running in a browser. So the first feeling I got is like, what? I thought that my code is going to be WebAssembly. No, it's not. The framework is going to be WebAssembly. And then our DLLs is going to be my .NET standard DLLs. Nothing special about them. I didn't really like this. I wanted my code to be WebAssembly, but they're working on that. That is their ultimate goal. But the really cool thing here is the .NET or Mono is running in your web browser with WebAssembly. I was like, what? You mean? So basically, you can take any DLL, just put it in there and run it in your web browser. Really cool. So what happens is that when you load Blazor, you're going to have some CSS downloading, then blazor.webassembly.js is going to get downloaded. And that will make sure that all the dependencies that you need is going to start up. The WebAssembly is going to get loaded. So next up we have boot Blazor boot.json. So it contains the entry point, the DLL, and any dependencies that you might have. Then it's time for mono.wasm. Now, mono is, I think, is 1.8 megabytes or something like that. And I mean, we're working to get a small footprint of JavaScript as possible. We're using Webpack to combine it. We're even removing spaces to get as small footprint as possible. But in this case, I mean, 1.8 megabytes, that's way too much. But again, they're working on that. Then we have your app.dll and any dependencies it might have. It works with all major browsers, but Blazor also has a fallback. So in case your browser doesn't support that, it's going to fall back to awesome.js. So even IE is going to be working with this. So what you do is you go to blazor.net, you download the Blazor templates, and off you go. So let's take a look at a demo. Let's start with what it actually looked like. So this is the default template that file new gives. Actually, I'm going to show you. Let me show you how that looks as well. So what you do is you go into File, New, Project, ASP.NET Core Web Application. Then you're going to have three choices. You can have Blazor, which is running completely in the web browser. You're going to have Blazor with ASP.NET Core hosted backend. So same thing, it's going to run in the browser, but it's going to have a hosted backend for web APIs and stuff like that. And then we have the server side. I'm not going to tell you about that until later. Cliffhanger. So this is the default client version. So if you go into counter, this is going to be so exciting. Check this out. If I click that, the counter comes up. Click, 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 click. I could stay like this for the rest of the show. The really nice part of this is if we check the code, this project is the one with the backend. So it wouldn't be, the demo is just the same for the client as for the backend, but this also gives us the ability to show the getting data. So with the client, so we get client, server, and shared. So the client is the thing that's going to run in your browser. The server is the web APIs. And shared is a shared .NET class between the two. We don't have to do new JavaScript classes that look similar. We're going to use the .NET classes. If we go into pages, counter. So this is what it looks like. There we go. So here we have current count. That's the variable, or the counter that was showing. We have on click. This is a method, and down here we have the variable and the method. That's it. Notice that I don't have anything. Now I've updated the UI. Please update it. It's going to work straight out of the box. It knows that, hey, that variable changed. I'm guessing that he wants to show that as well. If we take a look at the fetch data example, looks pretty simple. If we take a look at the code, fetch data, we have we inject the HTTP client. So in dependency injection works fine with this. We have some paragraph text. If we don't have anything in forecast, we're going to show loading. You may have seen it just blink by. Then we have a table with some headers, and then we're just going to loop over the forecasts. And the code for this is we have variable, forecast, and array. We're going to do a call to this service, which is going just to give us random values to show off. And by setting the forecast variable, it knows, hey, you changed. Let's update the UI. So if I go back and I click again, there's other values. Jessica and I, we talk about future technology, as I mentioned. And everywhere we go, we meet Telluric. Telluric is really in the forefront of new technologies. They have rewritten their Kendo UI. So that's their JavaScript framework for web development. So they've rewritten that completely from scratch, but in .NET. So this has no JavaScript code whatsoever. We have sorting, we have paging, and everything. If you just quickly take a look at what that looks like, Telluric, fetch. Then we have a Kendo grid, like so. And in this case, I wasn't very fond of having the code in the Razor page. So I decided that let's try if we can get this in the backend page. Or code behind the page. So in this case, I just have created a class. We have the forecast neatly in the code behind. We have an inject attribute for the HTTP client, so we get it injected. And then we have the exact same code we had in the previous sample. Works just out of the box. So if we take a look, I also have actually accidentally did a mistake while I was writing this demo, and I realized that I made a loop. So it started updating all the time. Now it's a 2 seconds delay because I didn't want to push it too hard. So in this case, if we check the code behind, this one. In this case, I set up a timer. Every 2 seconds, I want you to update the forecast. In this case, this is happening on another thread. This is not going to happen on the UI thread. So I need to actually say the state had changed. But as you can see, every 2 seconds, this is going to update. This is cool. Yeah, I see some nodding. Let's see. Let's go to Pages and To Do. Now, I am a very bad typist. And I'm going to torture you with looking at me while I type. Let's take a look. We're going to do a to-do app. Very simple to-do app. So let's take a look. We're going to do if I run this page, the other way, there we go. If I run this page, I'll click to-do. We have a header called to-do. So if I go here and I say I want a UL, I want an LI, and I want to have a couple of list items. to do items. We're going to create a class. We're going to have some properties. We're going to have a string text. And we're going to have a prop is done. See? And we're going to have a protected add item. We're going to have a protected void add item. Items dot add new to do item text equals item text. We're going to create a variable called string item text. Actually, we're going to create a text. We're going to create a property. I told you, I warned you. Item text. There we go. Let's see if this shouldn't be there. That should be there. And let's do something fun with the UI as well, so we can actually see these items. Let's do a for each. We're going to do that for each. Items. And we're gonna item dot text. See, yeah. And then we're going to add something to actually add an item. So let's do a input, not that one. Input type text. Text. Visual Studio is not helping me. And a input, no, a button. There we go. Add item. So you did see a little piece of this code already. We're going to do a on click. So this uses the awesomeness of Razor's tag helpers. So if I just write on click and I'm going to say add, add item. They look similar. Yep. So when I press this button, this method is going to run. And it's going to get the text from this variable. So what I can do is on my input box, I can just say bind equals at item text. There we go. So technically, yeah, let's take a look. Reload this. So I don't have to recompile anything. Visual Studio is going to know that I'm reloading this page, and it's going to make sure that I have the latest one. So if I try test, add. The UI is updated. So if I want to add something more fun to this, I want to add a checkbox. So we got an input type checkbox. We're going to bind this, bind this to the @item dot item dot is done. Is done. And in this up here, we're going to say @items dot count. We're going to count every item, so where I is not is done. Let's see if this works. To do test. No. This is fun, right? To do 0 test. If I click this, only written in C#. Now this app has one problem. If I reload this, I won't have anything left. So if I just add Blazor storage. So what I have here is a NuGet package called Blazor Extensions, Blazor Extension Storage. So let's just say using Blazor Extensions Storage. So what this does is, well, simply when you start it, I want it to load everything from local storage stored in the web browser. And when I save an item, I want this to get saved. I need to add a variable called storage name string. Let me see what I called it. To-do items. To-do items. So what this actually does is it's going to get my to-do items from local storage from the web browser. It's going to read them, and it's going to do that with JavaScript or with JavaScript interrupts. So you can interrupt with JavaScript. Any JavaScript is just going to work fine. So if I type test and on time, that's a good thing to do. Oh, I'm really going to end on time. If I reload this, I forgot to do something that's not going to work. Let me go back here. No, maybe. No, I didn't. I need to save the items as well here. And I need to, when I click here, I want to say that on click, save items as well. Now it should work. If I reload, it should still be there. Yes. C# running on Mono, WebAssembly, running in your browser, doing JavaScript interrupts. I think this is awesome. If we check the network, just going to show you real quick here. Let's just reload the page. We got the Blazor WebAssembly. It's going to load that one. And this is the thing I want to show you. We already talked about some of the things. Body. If you can see this, this is the main, which is our file, the entry point, and whatever dependencies we might have. It can also refer to JavaScripts that is automatically going to be added to the page. So let's go back to the presentation. So does it feel so far? Pretty cool? Yeah? Then we have server-side Blazor. Now, server-side Blazor doesn't really have anything to do with Blazor. What is happening is that you have a server, .NET Core server, running your .NET Core app, and updating the UI with SignalR. So everything is running on the server. Every update is just sent over with SignalR. This is the first thing that is going to come out. With .NET 3, the SignalR version is going to go live. So let's take a look at the server-side version. Here we go. You recognize it? Now the difference is that this is, let's see, it loads like that. You may have noticed that the Blazor took a little bit of spinning up and WebAssembly starting up. With the counter, what is happening is that it's going to send a SignalR message back to the server. The server is going to say, hey, update that variable. Works just the same. We have the fetch data, Telluric running on the server, and we have our amazing to-do app. Now, notice that it had a state. This is the exact same code I showed you for the client side, but this is running on the server, getting the local storage on the from the browser. So what this is called Razor Components. This is the new name. So you build a Razor component, you can run it server side or you can run it client side. It's just going to be the same code working the same way. You can actually switch between this as well. When I was about 7 years old, my parents came with a box. Came to me with a box, and they gave me the box, and I opened the box. What's this? And it was a computer, a ZX Spectrum, my first computer. And this has always, that moment was the moment when I realized I wanted to become a developer. It changed my life in a way. After I became a developer, I thought that would it be possible for me to build an emulator, a ZX Spectrum emulator in C#? That would be cool. So I set off, this was the time frame was the first Xbox. There was a way to hack in and run my code. In this case, it was C. I took some code from the internet, I integrated it and created my first version of the emulator. Then Xbox 360 came, and I said, hey, I'm going to do this in XNA. I did. It worked. Someone else beat me to it. releasing it. So I said, yeah, I'm not going to release it. Just scrap that. But this has become my hello world. Every time I meet a new system, a new technology, I need to try this. So this is my ZX Spectrum. My Mono running on WebAssembly, running my .NET Standard emulator in the browser. It's too slow though, so one might think that a computer from the early 80s would be easy to emulate, but it's a lot of things going on. But they're working on the performance as well. And the really cool thing with this is that this is my emulator, my .NET Standard emulator. Then we have my Blazor project. I have an emulator component. Now, I'm not going to go through all this, but here's the start button. Here's the emulator canvas, like an ordinary canvas. I have my backend. I define my ZX Spectrum. I define a timer. I have a injected HTTP client. I set up my game loop. I start it. I start the game loop. I reset the Spectrum. I load Manic Miner. For every 20 milliseconds, I want to do all the instructions, and I want to paint the canvas. This is the fun part. I'm going to get bytes. That is the screen of the Spectrum. I'm going to allocate some memory, and I'm going to say, this piece of memory, it's okay if the web browser reads this. I'm going to say that this chunk of memory is okay. You can read that. Then I'm going to do a call to the paint canvas JavaScript method. So I have a JavaScript method here as well. So we go in here. I have a method that initializes the canvas, but I also have paint canvas. Whoop. Woo. Let me do that a little bit smaller. A little bit smaller. There we go. Perfect. So what this does is my C# code is going to call the JavaScript method with a memory pointer. Remember, I told the code that this chunk of memory is okay to read, so it can't read any memory. So I say that get that piece of memory, loop through the byte I just provided, and then update the canvas. And this is what is happening here. I have JavaScript interrupt. I can read a pointer into the memory of the web browser. This is why this project is so fun to work with, because it really pushes the boundaries of the technology. Let's see, let's go back. You just saw the even more fun stuff. So now I encourage you to try this yourselves. You can do amazing interactive web applications with this without having to write any JavaScript. Now, I believe that this is the future of web development. I really hope that it is. We can choose our technology, our language to create applications. I want to be part of that future. I hope you want to. Thank you so much.